Let me set the stage for you guys and send you back 13 years ago. It's between late 2012 and early 2013. It's early in the morning, but your family is still sound asleep in the house, except for you. You head to the family computer, boot up Old Reliable, and go to click on a certain MMO game you saw your friends playing at their house. You wait for the loading to complete, click the play button, and realize you forgot to turn the volume down. Shit. Turn down, where's the mute button? Did anyone hear that? October 15th, 2012, the day of a launch of an MMO freemium game where I got to live out my second place option of what I wanted to be when I grew up. For those wondering, first place was to be a train conductor like Thomas the Tank Engine. And then I realized what it's actually like, so. But my second place option was to live out the dream of being a no good, filthy, dead-eyed Pirate101. For those who don't know what Pirate101 is or need a refresher, Pirate101 is an MMORPG which is still active and running for over 12 years now. The story goes that you're a pirate that is an orphan due to insert brutal and unfortunate situation to your parents here. You became a prisoner of the game's main big bad army known as the Armada because of insert silly antics of your choosing here, but are rescued by these two friendly pirates that successfully break you out and send you to the main island of the game to begin even more silly antics, but as a captain. Another way that might help you out is that it was made by KingsIsle Entertainment that also made this funny wizard game that just so happened to also end in 101. I wasn't really that interested in Wizard 101. Don't think my family computer liked it that much either whenever I tried to boot it up, but Pirate 101 was my crack in middle school and in my early years of high school. And during those times, I would just hop on the game and play on it for hours and hours again and again, and oh my god, it's nighttime. I would be playing this game hours on end, which would probably have me push back homework, but that's okay. I graduated, so it worked out in the end, I guess. And this game will definitely have a special place in my heart with countless other childhood video games as I grew up. As time went on though, I finally did manage to hit the game's endpoint at the time being, but we wouldn't receive the next main update that'll continue the story. During that time span, they would still put out some quality of life updates here and there that would either enhance the game experience or make it easier for new players. Some examples are buffing existing companions or adding new ones for each class that'll greatly benefit them, not you. Another one of these being that they actually expanded the beginning and prologue for these 3 ghost rats and blood shoals. But while those updates were nice, I was still waiting on for like the big boy update to finally drop for the story. And while in 2016 we finally got that main story update being Valencia Part 2. I should probably mention now that there's going to be some major spoilers going throughout this video from Valencia Part 2 and onward, so if you haven't seen that yet and want to experience it yourself, here is your warning now. At the time of this update, I thought it was fine, but did think it ended the main story where we were following very abruptly with us at the end of this update defeating the leader of the Armada, Kane. It also had the ghost of our parents telling us that El Dorado, the thing we've been doing for like 2/3 of this story, isn't really worth it, and then ends with an eerie look of the defeated Armada men with Kane's right-hand woman Queen reactivating then fading into a to be continued. Unfortunately, after this, players will then go back into another long process of waiting for another main story update. 5 years actually. During this 5-year span, you would also see the player amount just start to drop off the face of the earth. Almost all except for the main one, Avery, would be at perfect, where Avery here and there might be normal. Summer of 2021, we would finally get some more expansion to the story, being Sinbad Part 1. 2 years later, we would get Parts 2 and 3, and then in 2024, we would get some more, being Tartarus and Krokotopia. Since the release of these updates, fans have been pretty vocal about their mixed feelings regarding these updates. As for me, I'm also in that category of being mixed as well. There's some things about this update that I do like, and then there's some stuff about these updates that I'm just either not a fan of or I'm very adamantly against it to where it ruins my experience playing this game. It kind of feels like as these updates go on, the less I like it and have a want to play that part of the story, especially if I have to pay for it. Pirate 101 is a freemium game where the game is free to play until you hit a certain point where you either have to buy it with crowns or become a member. In this video, I thought I'd discuss these updates all in one video from going as early as May 12th, 2014 all the way to as recent as November 2024. I want to give my thoughts on them as I feel like 2014 was where it did start to become this domino effect of these updates being the boiling point to where many users and I are criticizing what the game is now. First thing I want to mention, I'm not going to discuss every single part that has come out in every of these updates. I only wanted to discuss the ones that I feel like are important to point out. So if you were hoping in this video I was going to talk about something like, I don't know, doubloon trading, yep, not going to mention that one. Sorry, that's the most I'm going to mention it right here. Second, I want to try and steer away as much as possible from trying to compare Pirate101 and Wizard101. Though I will say I will bring up Wizard and compare just how long they were able to achieve during this time frame and this time frame regarding updates. But I do know that these are two different teams working with two different budgets, by the way. Third thing I want to mention is that even though I played this game since close to its beginning, I do need to mention that I haven't been really active in the community. What I mean by that is whenever I play Pirate101, I just be either playing by myself, or in the rare instances I bring on my friend, or whenever I'm playing it by myself, I run into other people that are at that certain point that I am as well in the story. I never chat in like forum posts, Reddit, Discord servers. I did join the actually Discord server pretty recently, and I am a part of a group right now going through the story as well a few weeks before that. Lastly, at the end of the day, this is just my opinion. I definitely think a lot of people are going to disagree with what I have to say in this video, and that's totally okay. As long as we keep it like civil, respectful, kind, nice, all that jazz in the comments, and we don't tell me to like walk the plank in a non-friendly manner. I'd appreciate that, you know? I've rambled on long enough now. I am a professional yapper. So let's get on to the updates. May 12th, 2014. This update actually had a lot of new and improved qualities of life changes to Pirate that are pretty much vital to how we play the game today. To list some of them, there are ways that you can have your companions fight, whether that be the first 3 companions, random except your first mate, or all random. Companion tasks like getting nautical XP, gold, or training points if at max level with you, class companions that I mentioned earlier, shout out Peter Quint, new visual effects for casting certain powers from the class it was given by, doubloons, and a whole new island to train and morph pets being Bestia. The biggest one to me from this update was the one I mentioned earlier, being the expansion to the beginning and prologue from Blood Shoals with the 3 ghost rats. I was a fan of this update as it made the game much better in certain areas while also improving and building on more of the 3 branch quests from the ghost rats. In general, this update was pretty great for the game as players were still anticipating for the next story update, but I do have a problem with this update, being that its paywall changed. Before this update, the free-to-play areas would be all of Skull Island Skyway until you get to a point where you went to the Presidio to retrieve the spices for the Frogfather. During this, you would also free someone who knew your parents and then would join your crew afterwards. The Frogfather would also mention how our parents had special docking privileges and had a ship still there where we could use it to sail to the next Skyway. But as we reached the private dock, that's where the paywall would hit. After this update, it feel like it pretty much cut the update in half from having all of Skull Island Skyway to just Skull Island and then a little bit of Blood Shoals. You wouldn't even be able to play all 3 of the Ghost Rat quests. The only quest you would be able to play for free is Manny's, and that's with Azteca and Zol Akmul, whereas Jack and Mo's quests are pay to play. That is where the paywall hits now. Or so I thought. Like I said, I've been playing this game since 2012, but what I didn't know is that this is actually the 3rd time the paywall changed. You see, I did message someone to make sure that everything I got here in this video looks good enough and that I'm not messing up on any of my facts, but he points out a difference that we had at this point. You see, I mentioned that for me, the free-to-play area was all of Skull Island until we had to get to the next Skyway. Whereas for him, it was actually when you go to Trader's Cave, and then once more, when you be approaching the dock of Jonatown. While we were confused at this part, he actually found out that we had to look a bit more further back into the update notes, being in March 27th, 2013, where the paywall changed to what he was used to. The reason why it wasn't happening to me like that is because I had it before, so they gave me premium access for any players at that point. So now with this new information, I can definitely say that the 3rd instance of the paywall is much better than the 2nd one, as you had just a little bit more to do just a little bit more, but it makes a big difference than just kind of abruptly stopping at the cave. Can you imagine, oh, we gotta go get Ratbeard, we gotta go get this son of a bitch, and then you're like, oh, he's in this cave, and then it just stops right there. Whereas in this instance, you get into the cave, see what actually happened to the ghost rat, play one of them, and then you have the option of paying to play the rest of it and complete the last two. But of course, for me, I still think the first paywall that they had is the superior one, as you had all of the first Skyway, and then you'd be barking to a new Skyway only for the paywall to hit, and it's like, oh, you're about to go into a new area. Do you want to keep paying to play? You want to give us some money to go into that part of it? Thankfully, the paywall isn't too expensive if you're playing on crowns, because it only costs like $375 to unlock the Ghost Rat quest. Whereas when you get farther into the story, it will rack up in the 1 and 2,000s. But as someone who has played it before the shrinkage, I will say that I'm a little bummed out or disappointed that it got shrunk so much. Personally, I don't know if that's enough gameplay for someone that's new to Pirate to see if like they want to actually spend money to play the rest of this story or not. But if you were a new player that came around during this time where that paywall hit, let me know if it was really that effective for you in the comments below. Even with this little bother I have, the good from this update outweighed it so much. And again, a pretty solid update. And now before we get to Valencia Part 2 in 2016, I at least wanted to mention the little tidbits of minor updates between May 2014 and 2016. So after May 2014, we then go on to September 2014, where we get 4 noteworthy additions to the game. Those being the recall ability to a dungeon, so if you happen to lose or you're doing it by yourself and you teleport out, now you can just click the button instead of leaving a port near it and sailing all the way back there. There's also team up, where if you're taking on a dungeon but don't want to do it alone due to like difficulty and also the part of just running around Skull Island, well, now you can click the option team up, and hopefully someone by the team up ledger in Skull Island can help and join you. The third addition being the Tower of Mu Manchu, which carries on the side story of this evil sorcerer named, of course, Mu Manchu. It's like the area to go and grind gear for like the longest time. I haven't done Mu Manchu yet, so if anyone wants to do Mu Manchu, let me know. I'd appreciate that. I just want the cool glowing red eyes. That's all I want from this dungeon. Let me get it, please. Someone help me get it, please, please. But my favorite out of all of them though is the fast travel for Cool Ranch. Players of this game know that Cool Ranch is the longest part of the game and can take a while to travel from place to place, especially back before this update. Now I just have to go to the main island in the Skyway and give this buffalo 15 coins, and I've saved a few minutes already. Try playing throughout Cool Ranch without using the fast travel. I dare you. I triple dog dare you. You're not gonna get far. I know it. Other than that, good, small, but helpful updates to the quality of life. November 2014 was just some like small bug fixes here and there, but in 2014 of December, we actually got 3 noteworthy updates to the game, being the Black Market, Smuggler's Arena, and adding companions in your houses. Yay! I don't really use the Black Market, nor do I bother with Smuggler's Arena, so those who want to put in the comments below how useful they are or if it's worth it, I'd appreciate that. As for companions in the house, yeah, it's nice. If you got max nautical XP and gold, don't need any more training points, and are happy with your pet and gear, then yeah, let them roam around. Look at them go. Dude, I swear, every time I try to record a video, that's when I start to get sick. Piss. A little over half a year later is when we get another noteworthy update in August 2015, which brought ranked PvP. Not my cup of yum, but again, let me know how we feel about it in the comments below. We also got the Nautical Gauntlet, burn it, and finally we have the Secret Trainers, which are located in Devilfish Hollow and can help whether you want to add on more epic talents to benefit your pirate. Like maybe you want to get more parting shot epics for your musketeer, or cross training like you want with your witch dog to be a staffy and shooty fighter, so you can wait for the musketeer trainer to appear and learn Overwatch and Burst Fire. Only downside for the Secret Trainer is that it only shows up for a certain hour. Say you get on at 2 p.m. and hope for the Witch Doctor trainer to be showing up, but this wasn't scripted. I don't know. There is a schedule posted on Reddit, so I'll flash it right here for you guys in case you were wondering. And that's the end of the minor updates leading up to Valencia Part 2. Again, some nice, like, decent updates to really enhance the quality of life or just your playing experience. The ones I've greatly appreciated though are the fast travel for Cool Ranch and the Secret Trainers. But during this point, players are still having that anticipation for when the next part of the story will drop. It's already been a year at this point since the beginning and prologue expansion, but it has been 2 years since Marleybone and Aquila were added, and has been over 3 years by the time Valencia Part 2 will drop. Will it be worth the wait, or will people crash out? It's been a couple years, so you probably have seen reactions already to it. June 2016. The moment has finally arrived for that main part of the story to continue, being Valencia Part 2. But before I go into Valencia Part 2, let me also mention the 3 other drops that came from this update. First one being that the level cap increased from 65 to 70. Second one is connected to the first one, being new talents for your pirate to learn at 70. And finally, your Presidio companion now has a 3rd promotion at level 68, with the quest being Bob's Your Uncle. Pretty solid in my opinion, and I think it's funny how in the final fight with Captain Hand, you may either have a hard time against him or completely wash the floor with him and take his other hand out of pity. Now on to Valencia Part 2, and if you don't want to hear me ramble about the majority of the story, then skip to this time zone. To summarize this story, we continue from where we left off by finishing Aquila after deciphering a message thanks to the help of Meowiarty, that a man went by the initial G knows how to defeat Cain, that we need to seek out someone known as Cagliostro. We head back to Avery, who tells us Cagliostro lives in the richer part of Valencia, different from where we were much earlier on, and because of the war, it'll be pretty hard to reach the capital, and our best bet is to go through the spooky, scary, and red skyway of Avernus. We head back to Monquista to seek out our good pal Cortez to let us use that skyway once more, but then he tells us that it'll just give us diplomatic immunity, all thanks to this guy. Once we arrive, we do a favor to receive this unicorn spot in line to seek an audience from the king and queen of Valencia. Wacky shenanigans occur during this, by the way, I probably should mention that. After that, we meet this unicorn guy known as Ladina, that tells us how we resparked the resistance and how we also found a letter from Cagliostro to seek him out, which we do after a few fights. Cagliostro tells us that the mysterious G person is actually Gazpacho, which is the creator of Cain. They tell us where Gazpacho is being held, which is in the Clockworks, the place where the Armada soldiers are made. Once we finally reach Gazpacho, he goes into a Dr. Doofusmer's puppet story backstory about how he was a toy maker, but greed blinded him. Tortellini wants to make hip and cool machine men. Gazpacho makes it. Tortellini betrays him. Gazpacho seeks revenge and makes Cain. Cain instead does the opposite. Cain makes Deacon and Rook and go imprison Gazpacho. Before we could leave the island with Gazpacho, there was one more thing that he needs that is vital to his plan, being the strange mechanic piece that he got from El Dorado. Turns out, Gazpacho has been there. He was the one that took this photo, but Capir butts in about how they swore an oath to never talk about what happened, aka what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Gazpacho, being the absolute chat he is, says to hell with the oath and tells us about what happened. During the celebration, the Golden Sentinels of El Dorado came to life and caught the crew by surprise, leaving only a handful being able to escape and board onto a ship. One of the Sentinels managed to get on the ship, which the crew did defeat. Afterwards, Gazpacho claims his share, being the broken pieces of the machine. The 2 pieces that are most important from the dismantled Sentinel were the Golden Heart, which is what we possess, and the Golden Mine, which is inside of Cain. Okay, let's pause it right here. I know there's still more to the story, and I had the time skip set here, but trust me, there is a reason. First, I want to discuss about my thoughts of what I think about Valencia Part 2 so far. The first noteworthy discussion of this update that I want to mention is that holy shit, the difficulty spike. There have only been a few moments where the story has actually gotten difficult for me and would honestly say was a true challenge nowadays. The Hydra fight in IKEA has constantly stayed a challenge for me, whereas in past fights it was like Captain Blood, Duck of Death, Rook, General So were challenges when I was younger, but not as much anymore. Rook, he's still there though. But this is on like another level. My companions were like dying in the first or second turn, and these aren't even bosses. Yes, it's in a dungeon, but this is also like the 3rd fight of the story. Technically, it's the 4th fight. I'm not counting the Sky Guard. That is fucking Batacuda deviant art, alright? The first 2 fights are fine though, as they have epic talents at rank 2 like Relentless, Repose, and Vengeance Strike. But in the Throne Room Dungeon Duomo, I might have a moment where 2 Royal Guards or Battle Angels just jump one of my companions with a charge or strike attack. I don't like that. And there's also like a line that Sinbad gives where then there's also a line that Sinbad gives and he's dead. So while I'm not liking the difficulty spike right there, I can at least say it's not consistent at this part of the story. It seems like as long as I'm not fighting a swashbuckler, I'll be fine. But another positive I do have for this update is that I'm really liking the story so far. Emphasizing though, the so far. Already there are some big stakes as we are in the heart of where the Armada is, but it's more different as we're in the upper echelons of Valencia, and we're also a big name, you know, we're a little bit more well known, and we have an immunity that won't last forever. I don't know if this is a good comparison or not, but like think of Luke Skywalker walking around the Death Star, but the stormtroopers can't shoot him because his dad works for the Empire.
Please clap.
On top of that, the Resistance has been revived from what we last saw, and now we have the maker of Kain freed and on our side. Even with the difficulty spike being like iffy at best, I'm still really liking this update so far. Speaking of the so far, this is the part where I think many players, or at least I, start to see the story start to drop the ball. So once Gazpacho tells us about what happened at El Dorado and about the heart and mind, he tells us his plan on what to do, which is just batshit crazy, by the way. Gazpacho plans on going to Kang's sanctum and installing the golden heart into Kain so he will go from bad to good. After Monkey King reacts the same way on what we all probably did at that moment, the rest of the crew just goes like, oh yeah, sure, no, why not? You know, what's the worst thing that could happen? So we escape the clockworks, talk to this guinea pig who I think him and Monkey King will be best friends due to his reaction to the plan as well. Go to Kang's sanctum, which just so happens to have a path cleared for us thanks to fuel, along with the front door open, also thanks to fuel. And well, we go inside and oh look, the worst thing happened as Gazpacho stands literally in the front lines with the golden heart literally out in the open, proclaiming to Kain to come out so we can make him a good guy again. Then Kain pops out right in front of us and says, nah, I'm good, and shoots the heart, destroying it, and then kills Gazpacho. Some plan that was, right? And on top of that, Kain tells us that he has won, which we promptly say nuh-uh, but he replies back with yuh-huh because he worked out how the map was made and made his own map. Now he plans on to sail to El Dorado where he can become perfect due to everything but his mind being made by man. Then after that, destroy the spiral. Phil mentioned that part of Kain's story, by the way, just slipped my mind, you know. Well, now we can't just turn around and try again another day, now can we? We fight some troops. Kain tells his machine to plan his escape craft and destroy the chamber, but the machine doesn't really feel like it, as that would destroy it and will not fulfill its purpose. Kain's not happy. We make the machine break and we go upstairs to fight Kain himself, Bishop, a newly built Deacon and Rook, and Queen, and holy shit, Queen's a swashbuckler. We're screwed. Better take her out before she hits you with her assassin strike, or you either lose or have a less favorable matchup continuing the fight. Once everyone is defeated, it's just Kain left, and then boom, he's down for the count. The machine then lifts him up like he's Robot Jesus, takes his mind out from him, and sucks it away. Where? I don't know, who cares? You probably didn't know what was going on if you were first playing this part when it came out, cause the cutscene was buggy. After that, our parents are shown on the crystals where they tell us, hey, you know that place El Dorado where we told you to find us? Yeah, not worth it because there's like death over there. There's death and destruction and bad guys and multiple copies of the Brother Bear movie and Andy Dick. Don't look him up, he's not a good guy. You don't want to go there and witness that. Just let us go. You saved the spiral, and the spiral is everything. And we're also proud of you. Okay, bye now. We head back to Avery where somehow news has already spread that Kain is defeated, where he also gives us a pat on the back and a yar-har. And it ends with showing us the defeated chessboard of all the Armada men lifeless on the ground, but uh-oh, Queen is still up and running as it transitions into a to be continued, with Queen laughing evilly in the background. Well, that's the update. It's kind of quick. Just like that, we defeated Kain. I don't know how to feel about that. I think this guy on Reddit says one word that summarizes this part of the story well, and I'll also link in the description below if you want to read more about it. But that one word that does a good job summarizing it is being rushed. Players waited for 3 years for a continuation of the main story, only for it to just end a pretty damn big part of the story by us defeating Kain, killing off the toy maker, telling us that El Dorado isn't something we should really go for, and then showing us Queen is still alive with the biggest cliffhanger for this game. Really? To end off Valencia Part 2, I'll leave it at that it had some good upsides, and I really did like the 3 other additions with the update, like the Presidio companion, as they're one of my favorite main story companions, but the end does leave a sour taste in my mouth still. And I didn't know where to put this in the updates as it doesn't mention this, but a few companions got some new promotions. 2 out of the bunch that were Catbeard and Gracie Conrad. 2 main story companions. For side quest companions, or those that are not integral to the story, for example the legendary Nanu, you will have to pay gold to promote him, whereas main story companions like Bonnie Ann and Ratbeard, you'd do a quest. Catbeard and Gracie are main story companions, but instead of a quest, you just pay gold. Honestly, it's really disappointing and does not help the case in that Valencia 2 was rushed out. At the time this update came out, I thought this update was fine and didn't really have that much of a problem with it, but that's when my lack of being a part of the community comes into play. I didn't know about the 2 things that played a major role in all of this, being the big focus on mobile games and their original plan. For the mobile games, I'm not going to comment too much on it as my knowledge on this part is not the greatest, but it's still something I want to mention as it seems to be possibly playing a role regarding Pirate101. But during the 2010s, mobile games were just popping off overnight. Some notable ones being Jetpack Joyride, Clash of Clans and Royale, Flappy Bird, Candy Crush Saga, and Subway Surfers. What all these games have in common, with Royale being an outlier in this, is that they came out relatively the same time. What are the odds? But Pirate also came out in 2012. Hey, from what I could find on Reddit posts, it seems like KingsIsle wanted to dip their toes in the mobile games genre, as again, the games were popping off. They did release 2 mobile games, with one being in 2012 with Grub Guardian and in 2015 with Rise and Destroy. But it seems like they really wanted to make an effort in the mobile games genre, as they might have put all their focus on them while pretty much abandoning their MMOs. Sorry, did I say MMOs plural? I meant MMOs singular, really. This is a part where I will be comparing Wizard and Pirate here, as I need to mention this, but from November 2013 to November 2016, Wizard got major updates in Chrysalis Part 1 and 2, Aquila and its dungeon zones, 4 other dungeons in Shangri-La, Buckingham Palace, House of Scales, and Castle Darkmoor, Polaris, and then a few months after Pirate's big update, they received Mirage. What did Pirate get again? A couple quality of life additions, a revamped expansion for the prologue, and a slight adjustment to the free-to-play area. The updates are good and nice for the game, and I should mention that these are 2 different teams with different budgets again, but at the same time, it's hard to not look at the 2 and just be bummed out, to put it lightly, as a fan of this game. It feels like Pirate101 got abandoned, or even had team members taken off of that project to work on the mobile games, which didn't even work out. In May 2016, a month before Valencia Part 2 dropped, KingsIsle announced a massive layoff from their Austin location with 72 employees. This quote from the Dayton Daily News states that, to verify, KingsIsle had a reduction in force on May 12th, which impacted some of our talented employees, and we wish them the best. This coincides with a couple of unreleased mobile games being cancelled. The strategy is to refocus our efforts on our MMO games and polish our more promising mobile projects, many of which are still slated for a 2016 release. Fans of our MMOs should know that Pirate101 is soon to receive an update and will be going into test run most likely next week. Wizard 101 has new content updates in the works for both summer and fall 2016. One thing that I knew was that KingsIsle does have a small team, but what I didn't know was the actual size, and that I found out from Blaze Life's Hammer's video discussing the layoffs, being 200 total members are in the team. But apart from the quote that stood out to me was the cancellation of a couple unreleased mobile games, and that they're refocusing on their MMOs and polishing the more promising mobile games set to release soon. It's words like that where it feels like Pirate did get abandoned, and all of this was just for nothing but for employees to get laid off. It's words like that that make me feel like they did abandon Pirate, and it was all for nothing and only affected the employees, with many of them being laid off. I heard that the guy that does the puppet shows for Pirate was one of the people who got laid off. That's sad. I hope that wasn't true. This all happened, by the way, a month before Valencia Part 2 was set to release. But hey, they're back to refocusing on the MMOs. That's great news. But I have to still mention the original plan. A few days ago, one of the developers that works on Pirate, Blind Mew, put out a post on Pirate101 forums discussing its latest update, but wanted to answer some people that felt like the update was a bit short to previous installments. Not only that, but the story veered away from the original plan, which he tells us that we're correct. I never knew that there was actually an original plan to this part of the story, only really recently when I did learn about it. Thankfully, someone did send me like the original plan for it, but later on I did find out the actual forum post for it. From what Blind Mew posted, he said, "So what happened? Well, after a hiatus that ended up being way too long, we got the ball rolling again on book 15, but it took some changes to do it. Long story short, I had to make a long story shorter. And then there was the ending. I made a decision early in the revision process to bring Arc 1 to a close in book 15 instead of book 20. I want to be able to move on from here with a cleaner slate, without the momentum of those huge previous books pushing on the story. After such a long wait, I wanted to answer some of the questions I've been bedelving y'all with for quite some time. Of course, I couldn't help raising some new ones. So what was the original plan? Well, a day later, he does post what the original plan was supposed to be, being that in book 15's original end had you working with the resistance to smuggle Gazpacho out of Valencia. You weren't originally going to enter the machine until book 18. Gazpacho was going to be installed into a secret workshop off of Avery's court and turn into the primary quest driver for the next few books. As originally planned, books 16 and 70 will deal with Gazpacho's original plan on how to defeat Cain. It didn't involve just slotting the heart into him, thank God. As you'll recall from your Aquaman prophecies, a hand and an eye were also mentioned. Gazpacho's plan was to build a second super clockwork on Cain's level, but good instead of evil. His name was going to be Abel. In book 16, you would have gathered some of the parts that Gazpacho needed. Then he would have told you about the heart, which was the goal of book 17. Book 18 was when you finally entered the machine, using Abel and his resemblance to Cain to sneak into the heart of Cain's inner sanctum. There you would have stolen Cain's map pieces and had a major confrontation with Cain himself on a chessboard. Gazpacho's plan would fail and Abel wouldn't make it out, but as a consolation, you will track down Erica the Red's map piece, meaning you had all 7 at last. After that, book 19 will be a race with Cain to El Dorado, and the final confrontation with him would come on the golden streets of El Dorado in book 20. Yes, I'm being super vague here. Be right back, guys. I'm gonna just go into that corner or that corner over there and just hold my Frogfather plushie and then just start crying, just start bawling my eyes out, because that shit sounds so good, god damn it. First thing I want to say is that I am glad that he is happy with how the game turned out. When I read the original plan for the first time, the first thing that left out of my mouth though was, damn. But at the same time, I'm just left puzzled at the choice to abruptly end Arc 1 the way it went down. I get that you wanted to end Arc 1 to start on a cleaner slate so it doesn't have that momentum from previous books, but I wouldn't say or word it as pushing on the story. I don't know how else to word it, but to me, it just comes off wrong. What it was doing was building up to that satisfying climax that we've been following since a third into the game when we got back from Monquista. Instead, all of that momentum, all of that buildup has now come to a screeching halt because of the final battle with Cain. And at that time, why even speculate where our mom's piece of the map is if we were told to forget about it? Stories take time, and if it's because of the hiatus and some other things that were in play regarding that, like the focus on mobile games, then that really does suck, to put it lightly. I would have loved to see the story play out, and if it meant delaying the game a bit more due to the work it takes to implement skyways and puppet shows, that's fine, but I wish it was just communicated with the community about it. Having communication with the community is huge, and you might have some fans annoyed, but you also have some that will understand. Trust me, I know from waiting. I had to wait 2 years for the Skywalker Saga because of all of its delays, so I can wait. So much action and adventure that we will unfortunately not get to see. But I will repeat again, they're going to refocus on their MMOs. That's great. That means we'll probably get some more pirate content and get more continuation to the
crack.
Fuck. Oh my back. Sorry about that. I just can't help to think, but why do I feel 5 years older? 5 years. It took 5 years for the next part of the story. But it's not like they didn't have any minor updates or anything coming out during that time. There was still something, so I'll go over them really briefly as well. September 2016 gave us an Armada dungeon with a fight of haywire Armada troops. It's optional, it's not a main or side quest. It's got some good gear, but there's no reason to do it, and I don't know how good the gear is nowadays. They also increased the rank amount you can get for your epic talents. For example, Vengeance Strike, True Grit, and Retribution at rank 5 can give out a higher crit chance, but also have a 50% chance to stun your enemy. We're really raising the power scale on this game. I don't know how to feel about it. Exactly 1 year later, we have the addition of the Party Barge, a side quest given by Avery, as he wants to make Skull Island more diplomatic by getting diplomatic representatives from Monquista, Marleybone, Valencia, and Polaris? Oh my god, that means we're going to go to Polaris and find him. Oh, no, he's just joining Gullet, never mind. Once we get them all, they'll give you a fetch quest to do, but after the first time, Avery gets kidnapped by Marcus and you have to go and rescue him. Honestly, the best part of this update is getting to fight and play as Avery and his bird. Once you bring him back, the diplomats will have a rechargeable fetch quest every 24 hours that you can do. Personally, I didn't really care about the Party Barge. Once I did it for the first time and play as Avery, that's all the desire I had for it and didn't care about it afterwards. The last thing they added was auto companions. I don't know who asked for this. I feel like it's more of an inconvenience if you forget to turn it off and you have a companion at low health to run away. Then don't let it move for only to possibly rush into an enemy and die. December 2017 had gingerbread ships in a new Valencia Skyway. Moving on, September 2018, we get to not a story update, but still an important one, being skeleton key bosses and a new promotion for Old Scratch, where we have to fight a different version of Old Scratch, where he never joined our crew and never abandoned his master. The Obsidian key bosses are a tough challenge. I think Scratch took me like 4 tries total with my Buccaneer. With that 4th time, I managed to actually get someone to help me take it on. I don't know how long it took me for my Privateer. I lost that account, but I want to say like maybe 2 or 3 tries. Once the fight is over, Scratch will have you go back to a tavern cellar where he will promote to a Shaman. I didn't really use Shaman Scratch on my lost Privateer, and he's not worth the slot on Buccaneer, but I at least know that the buff really helped him out though. There were some other nice minor and quality of life updates added to the game, like marking down items as do not sell in case you're just brainlessly selling items and you accidentally sell something you wanted to keep. Quest Finder, which I really like as I want to try and complete all the quests in the game, and member benefits, like occasionally getting a free Miracle Mitch, which is great honestly with all these new strong enemies. Definitely September 2018 is the best update between this little big gap. And the last update before the continuation of the story happens a year and a month later with 2 new skeleton obsidian boss keys with Deviant Art, Bonnie Ann, and Ratbeard to fight. I care less about it as it doesn't involve the main story, my companions, or really hit that completionist tick for me. Not only that, but apparently those fights were really buggy and I'm starting to see a trend. I don't like it. I don't like that. Piss consumed. To end off these updates, they unfortunately don't really have that much of a draw to them. Plus, you need to get obsidian keys to fight these bosses, and from what I can find, it seems like Aquila and Valencia Part 2 are the best ways to get the keys, and doing that one fight in Marleybone with Stefan the Crocogator apparently being the best way, I guess. All of this came in the span of 5 years for the next main story update, whereas Valencia Part 2 took 3 years. Last time I will bring up the length Pirate took for Worlds and expansion to the story versus Wizard. 5 years after Wizard added Mirage, they also added Imperia Part 1 and 2, which concluded Arc 3 for the game, Caramel, a side quest for much lower level wizards in the Old Town sewers with Italian Bugman, and a few months after the Pirate story update, they added Lemuria. But now let's take a look at what Pirate101 released 5 years after Valencia Part 2. Will it live up to the hype? Or is it going to keep on continuing this noticeable trend? June 2021, the same month exactly 5 years after Valencia Part 2 released, being Sinbad Part 1. Part 1? Wait, what the fuck? Huh. Interesting. Part 1. Well, let's take a look at it then. As you're walking around Avery's court minding your own business, you are approached by 3 rats with the main rat known as Albino. They tell us about how their captain Sinbad is in trouble. Their crew was ambushed by this group called the Crushers, who plan to take Sinbad out to be the best pirate in the spiral and have the Belt of Champions go along with it. They couldn't get the belt off of Sinbad, so instead they kidnapped him. So they asked if we could save Sinbad by going to the Crushers' hideout in Devilfish Hollow. Even with how shady they came off, we still lend a hand to help them. We go to their lair and fight off members of the group that have similar vibes to WWE wrestlers with the way they talk, just in case the idea of a belt didn't give it away, or their leader calling the whole thing Crushamania, by the way. After defeating the leader, we hear Sinbad in the next room. Albino says to guard the door, but our suspicions are proven as we've been set up this whole time. The Crushers actually had possession of the belt the whole time, and Sinbad and his crew needed them to be distracted so they could take the belt without them noticing. Not only that, but Sinbad betrays his crew by abandoning them for the Crushers to beat them up, though that doesn't really seem like that happened, as they just decide to truce and beat up our pirate instead. Gee, thanks guys. I did manage to beat this fight on my second or third go maybe. I don't have recording from my first playthrough of this till like a little bit later, and I really don't want to go through this again alone. The fight is much more difficult now, as you have to face more than the average amount of enemies, and they have multiple rank 2 epic talents, with some of them having rank 3 talents. Also, some of them having hits to lower your accuracy, assassin strikes, critical hits, don't gas me Pirate Central, I know Pafo has one, that will slice your health in half and can be a few levels higher than you at some points. Once defeated, Albino is heartbroken and tells you to meet him outside the lair. Albino wants revenge, but doesn't want the belt, but what the belt can unlock, being the Eye of the Liger, and oh, we're done. That's it? Another cliffhanger? But we just got started, and it only took us like less than an hour to do part 1. Yep, that was Sinbad part 1. A quick end that left me felt more teased than the teasing I did to your mom last night. More teased than when you're at a restaurant and you think you see the server approaching your table with a tray of food, turning out to be the table next to you. While the difficulty spike can be an issue for solo players and those who don't grind, I can say that I'm a little bit back to being interested into the story. I wonder how they'll continue it from here, in part 2. A year later. Sorry, did I say 1 year later? I meant 2 years later, in May 2023. So I kind of forgot that June 2022 actually dropped a minor update before Sinbad Part 2 dropped in 2023 of May. So this is kind of like a live thing we're gonna do, where I'm just gonna like give my live thoughts on it. Fuck this guy. I don't like that guy. So this gives like the rotating weekly events to do for like quests and such. Well, it looks like some of these are boss fights, collection, non-boss fights, ship battles and such. The one thing that sucks is that when you pick up the quest and you don't do it, you're kind of just stuck with the quest. You're kind of just stuck with it. I think it will rotate back to Skull Island, but I have no clue when it actually does or not. And it seems like there'll be some rotating boss fights. There'll be level brackets for the key fights as well, going from 1 to 14, all the way up to level 70 at max. Super packs. They dropped super packs. That's interesting, yeah. So they dropped new super packs, which now gives you like a 3 times chance for higher drop rates in companions and mounts and such. So you're spending possibly less amount of crowns and money to get companions from the packs. They also have ultra packs, which have a 5 times higher drop, but that seems like it's only giveaways. Great. Best part of the update. That's all from June 2022 update. Hate this guy. Don't have to spend that much on gambling now. That's sick. And El Toro has nothing changed because he is perfect. Well said. But let's go back to part 2. And it seems like during the recent breakup between Sinbad and Albino, it appears that Albino has a new fit. Obvious reason why he looks different now is because they wanted to have him be attainable as a companion, and the design is already existing with the DeviantArt version of Milo Greytail that is in the Crown Shop. The story of this part goes is that Albino finally got a lead to where Sinbad is, being in the Ravaged Valley in Mushu. You reach where Sinbad's ship, the Chimera, is, and receive Albino as a companion. Your first main story companion, or one that isn't from gambling, since 2016. We also see the Chimera looking worse for wear, so most likely Sinbad is in this tower somewhere with his new crew, cheating on Albino. So now we must fight our way to the top and see Sinbad going through what will be another breakup with his side chick. After the fight is won, Sinbad and Albino bicker at each other like ex-couples from a Disney Channel show back in the early 2010s. Sinbad lets us know that he no longer has the belt, as he was betrayed by his new crew, and that crew was in cahoots with a terrible warlord from Raja known as Claw, who will also use the belt to get the Eye of the Liger, and oh my god, there's going to be a part 3, isn't there? Sinbad tells us some new info about the eye, being that it can destroy worlds in the spiral, and that Claw will use it to conquer Raja. So now we begrudgingly let Sinbad join the crew, as we must go and save Raja and take back the Eye of the Liger before Claw does any bad things in the world. But before we end this part off, we have to go speak to someone in Avery's court that we haven't heard of since we started this game. You know him, you love him, it's Mr. Gandry. Never mind, the monkey is bugged. Once Mr. Gandry decided to come back, he tells us that he heard about us hunting the Belt of Champions and says there are much more that we need to know, and yep, there's a part 3. Sick. Yep. That was Sinbad Part 2. A quick end that left me feeling more teased than the amount of teasing I did to your grandma last night. More teased than when you go to a McDonald's and you think they're going to call your number after saying the first two numbers matching them, then they say a different one at the end multiple times. While the difficulty spike can be an issue for solo players and those who don't grind, I can say that I'm a little bit back to being interested into the story. And just in case you didn't catch on to that, but that was an exact copy and paste with a little minor difference to it of what I said about Sinbad Part 1. Albino sends you off to a location. You fight through hordes of enemies in a dungeon until you get to the final area with some of the enemies returning from the past fights. Leave the dungeon and talk to someone that leaves you on a mysterious cliffhanger. If Sinbad Part 1 and 2 were actually combined, I probably wouldn't have this like criticism or nitpick, but it's that it took 2 years for this update to come out. Actually, no, it took 2 years for this update to come out that felt like a copy and paste of what we just had, again, 2 years ago. Maybe I'd be more frustrated on this if it was actually pay to play for this area, but thankfully Sinbad Part 1 through 3 are actually free to play. I say it with quotations because you still have to like pay in some sort of way to get to Mushu, Marleybone later on. It's just, you're gonna have to pay either way. It's just that part, it's free. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to pay crowns for a dungeon. Sick, thanks guys. But between the two, I'd probably say that Part 2 is a bit better than Part 1. One being that it's more solo friendly than Part 1, which I do appreciate, but also you get companions. I love companions. I don't care if I've gotten them before or I'm getting them for the first time because I've never played this class before. I will love them no matter what. It's sick. It's nice. And now before we discuss Sinbad Part 3, I need to mention that in August 2023, there was another small minor update with qualities of life changes into it. UI scaling is something I didn't really think about, but it's nice to have, you know. Mushu fast travel is great, but still confusing to me. I know like Cool Ranch and before that way better than the locations I do in Mushu and after that, so it's still getting used to it. I'll get it someday. And the last and the one I'm puzzled on the most is the changes to the beginning of the game with Skull Mountain and the Temple of Gloom. The changes here was that you no longer destroy the Troggy catapults and Shardon Shepherd is now straight across when you enter the Temple of Gloom instead of right by the staircase leading down to Finn. I really don't care about it as much. That's fine changes, though it bugs me that Bonnie Ann's dialogue doesn't really fit in here. But the one change I'm bugged about is that they nerfed Finn. Originally, Finn had epic talents of Pirate, Cheap Shot, Turn the Tide, Blade Storm, and Repel Borders 2. Now, he just has Pirate, Turn the Tide, and Blade Storm. No more Cheap Shot and no more Repel Borders. I know you made these changes for like better experience for new players, but like for old players, at least me, I kind of feel like this is unnecessary. This is the first boss fight you face in the game and it actually gave players a challenge back in the day, but you didn't have to nerf him this hard. If you wanted to nerf Finn, let him keep at least rank 1 Repel Borders at least, or if possible, let him stay how he is. Maybe just let him keep Cheap Shot, I guess. It doesn't take a companion to get back from bed rest at that part of the story that long, and plus, you have Sergeant Shepherd helping you out as well. But that's my thoughts on that part of the story. Let me know what you guys think about it again in the comments below, but let's continue on and end off Sinbad with Part 3. Also, this is when I started to lose it, and I recorded it too. Yippee. So, Sinbad Part 3. Let's run through the story real quick. Released in October 2023, we begin where we left off by talking to Mr. Gandry and...
Too late for what?
What happened to Bonnie Ann? So I didn't mention this from part 1 or 2 of Sinbad, but literally nobody on your crew had dialogue. The only dialogue you got was from enemies, Albino, Sinbad, and the end with Mr. Gandry. That's it. But in part 3, we finally have dialogue from our crew and Bonnie Ann's voice is already sticking out. So the reason why is that Bonnie Ann's voice actor actually retired from voice acting and was not going to come back to reprise her role because again, she's retired. It does and still kind of throw me off with how thick the accent is compared to the OG. Still though, it's better than some of the other voice changers later on and I don't want to act like my voice acting is better than this one, so hey, keep it up. But what's weird though is that they actually acknowledge the voice change and they chalk it up to her getting over a little skyway sinusitis. But I'm going to be jumping forward with this. When it comes to the rest of the voice changes like Ratbeard, Gracie, Contessa, Vadima, Gandry, anybody else you name it, they don't acknowledge them. I don't mean to sound rude at this part, but if you're going to acknowledge one of the voice changes for the characters, either do it for the rest or just don't do it at all for any of them. Back to the story, Gandry tries to tell us about Claw and how he's trying to do the ritual and break the Eye of Liger off of the belt, but not in Raja because it costs too money to go back. But hey, Zol Akmu, when all the dino people are, they can do the trick. That area works well. So we head to the catacombs there where Claw and his men are and beat him up for the info. We then find Claw, but uh-oh, the British are here. With me finally decided to record here, we beat up Claw and talk to the lieutenant dog as we are to be detained and brought back to Marleybone to see Mr. Smiley. Before we headed back, I was going to make a joke about how Sinbad says the same line here and again in the Marleybone sewers, but hey, they seem to have fixed that by the time I got to it, so good job, pirate devs. Anyways, we head back to Marleybone and oh shit, I think Mr. Smiley knows about our war crimes. We discuss further in the Glasshouse prison with Mycroft Bones, and yep, they know. El Toro claims it was in an act of true love, and so we can try some bull-on-horse action too, why not? Sinbad claims innocence, which fair honestly, he wasn't there for that. And Bonnie tries to throw blame on Catbeard, to which he responds with, again, similar critiques. Either maybe have just a voice actor, just do that line, you know, just a little bit of lines as a Catbeard as well, because that'd be kind of whack to just have him do the one line, or just don't do it at all. Just have Bonnie Ann say like, oh, it was Catbeard's idea, and then just keep it going, because you're just stopping the story at that part. Back to it, Mycroft tells us how they have the eye and that Napoleon actually told Claw about the eye, which set these plans in motion. Turns out the eye doesn't really destroy worlds, but that the people will fight over it and it will lead to a big bad civil war. Earlier, Claw went to Caramel, don't worry about it, Pirate probably won't get there or at all, to get the tools to get the eye out of the belt, where Mycroft and Sherlock Bones clash with them. Unfortunately, Sherlock Bones dies by falling off a cliff, and as someone who just finished Marleybone by the time I was writing this script, rest in peace. So now Mycroft wants to use us to laugh at Moriarty's face that his plan failed so he can reveal his other radical plan he has. It doesn't work until we mention Sherlock is dead, where he starts going apeshit mentioning about his plan and that it is too late. Mycroft somehow was able to deduce that the madman that is possibly working to break Moriarty out of prison being Erasmus Wheeler. Mycroft now wants us to go to his deep cover agent Ricky to see where Wheeler could be and give us this map. We ascend into the sewers and Ricky talks to us about something that I couldn't really tell because of the British slang, so I'm gonna assume it was something about beans on toast. What I was able to hear between that talk is that we should go beat up some other foes in a different part of the sewer to find some more info. We do so, and then we hear he's in Basil's Gate, which we then go back to Ricky, and she mentions something about, like, I don't know, Prince Andrew being a bum, but she tells us that Wheeler is in this radical group called the Blue Herrings, which are pretty bad people. She tells us we should go to Basil Gate sewers and find Wheeler and stop him at cost. Don't know if she knows this or not, but we were just in those sewers earlier, then had to walk all the way back here, and now we're walking all the way back to those sewers. I just don't know if she knew that or not. We beat up some more people. Sinbad imitates a blue herring thug.
Wheeler's here all right, and he's got a surprise in store.
Found the door he's locked behind. Beat up some more guys. Open the door. Hey, are you gonna join me? Nope. Oh, you're just gonna try and unlock this 4-person chest where no other people in sight. Alright, cool. Thanks, man. Also, eat a I then enter the dungeon, and here's when I start to lose my shit. We win this fight, and wait, there are still enemies spawning that can pull me even when I'm in this dialogue as I try to read the story. Well, it's time to move then. Now it's time to fight 5 robots, and I only got 2. This should be fun. Round 2, and that's 2 again. I'll have to do this fight once more. Never mind, either that fox or cat was secretly a robot, and now it's time to move again. Thank God it hasn't pulled me. And now listen to me get pissed off. I literally have no fucking... Now you might be wondering why I haven't gone to Skull Island to heal and purchase more mojo potions. Well, that's because I thought if I left, I would not be able to teleport back. The reason why I thought that at the time was when you walk out of the dungeon, like I did back with Claw, you don't have a teleport to go back in. If you teleported out of the dungeon, you will have a teleport to get back into the dungeon. Because of this, the difficulty was more hard than it should have been, and I wasted crowns as well. But also, why is it like this regarding dungeon teleports? Let's just continue forward, shall we? I can't even fucking... Ha!
Puppets of the decadent aristocracy! You fell into our trap!
Your orders.
Don't kill me either! Oh my god, that's... All good though, as we defeated the dog mastermind and his conjoined twin that we didn't even know about, where he tells us that the way we need to go...
Already! Let's go!
No! No! think I died from the explosion. I might. Depends if you can't hear me that well because my volume isn't that loud in this recording, but I did say bad word number 11. We press on where I have to fight more golems, but quickly contemplate my life choices that led me to this moment before doing so. Just kidding, as Bonnie Ann takes charge and picks Sinbad's door being the left. We go through the door where I would have cried if I had to do another.
Wait, where's Wheeler?
I waste crowns healing myself because I'm just such a silly goose and had to defeat 8 golems and I have to fight 3 enemies at a time. I'm not guaranteed all golems. Thanks to YouTube walkthroughs, I find the door and finally reach Wheeler. Wheeler says something I didn't pay attention to and he shows me Worker Light, which I begin to compliment. Sounds stupid name. Stupid name, honestly, for a stupid guy that's making stupid golems. I waste more crowns on a henchman, decide to put Bonnie Ann in the squad, a terrible mistake, but it's okay because we still win and now head back to Ricky Lady so we can tell her that there was no more Queen of England. She pats us on the back and we go back to Mycroft, who does the exact same thing, but Scratch tells us something that is going awry and that the eye is open. We reach the eye and we see our parents coming from it, but they don't sound too well as they try to fight for strength to speak to us. Puzzled we may be, but they mention the deceiver, which Scratch puts together that the vision we saw in the Great Machine was a lie and that we were deceived by someone who has some pretty strong mojo. Quickly, we head back to Mr. Gandry to tell him about the disturbance in the underworld, to which he replies he'll reach out to his contacts and that we should stay close. And by close, I mean that's all from him, folks, right now. Hey, let's go to Vadima. She's got a new voice too. But that is the end of Sinbad Part 3 and the Sinbad saga as well. To go over the things I didn't like here, definitely the fights, as I couldn't read the dialogue in fear of getting pulled afterwards like I did before and not having enough health. Still mixed on the voices, but hey, I'll get used to them as it's not anyone's fault here and it wouldn't be cool at all to bash someone for retiring. That's stupid. But I do have 2 final complaints here that really do bring down the experience for me. My first one being the map. There is no map. I shouldn't and really don't want to look up a video to find where a certain dungeon or fight is in that area. I should be able to pull it up on my map, but they do not have one for any of the new areas. It's unnecessary and inconvenient hassle that I must now do. And my other complaint is, I think, bigger than this one. I don't like Sinbad. He was fine in Part 2, but I think he overstays his welcome in that beginning dialogue of Part 3 when we talk to Gandry. Every interaction with him is either him whining or acting boastful or him butting heads with El Toro or someone on the crew and it ending with Bonnie or someone else telling him to shut up, and it feels like it keeps happening over and over again and it's not funny. It seems like in the dialogue actually they are trying to add more comedy to it, but when they previously did it, it was handled much better, whereas now it's just kind of forced in there. Hey, please laugh.
Please clap.
On top of that, we already have 2 big ego and boastful companions with El Toro and Hawkules. I don't think we needed a third, or at least written as he is currently. As I was editing this video, I was watching this one guy rank every world from Wizard 101, and as he was talking about Ravenwood and how new Ravenwood is kind of not as good as old Ravenwood, he compared like the humor in that one, the new humor they added, as like Marvel humor, and that got me thinking, yeah, this is what they're doing for Arc 2. It feels like Marvel humor, and it feels like that a lot more going into Tartarus, which I will talk about very, very soon. So now there's going to be a few things that are going to be staying with us as we progress through the story, being the difficulty spike starting to get to its boiling point, a character I'm not truly fond of, and a map being non-existent. But let's end the Sinbad saga on a positive note, being that the way they got us back into this story is not bad. Playing through and even watching that moment where our parents got back to us gave me goosebumps, actually. I'm not kidding. It seems like something's up with our parents and we need to get to the bottom with it. What's more, I'm still hooked in some way. If I were to rank the Sinbad parts, I'd probably say it was like 2, 1, and then 3. Those moments I had when I played Part 3 just really brought it down for me. But now we actually move on to Tartarus, where it's actually going to give us a new area look to where it's not just like catacombs or sewers or Mushu Tower finally. So Tartarus, it's it's a bit rough. Not only is it rough, but this is when the difficulty starts to get out of hand, and then the bugs are just too much to not ignore at this point. But as always, let's read off the story for this part. We continue where we left off, where Vadima confirms what Scratch told us, that the vision of our parents in the Great Machine was a lie, and that we must travel to Tartarus, the land of death. My first nitpick, of course, is when Sinbad pretty much says one of those little corny ass lines you see in a movie where he's like, did she really tell us to go to HE double hockey sticks? Ooh, I didn't like that. Now I'm gonna wait for him later on to say in the story when he's finding like an enemy or like we're trying to look for someone and he's like, it's right behind me, isn't it? Oh. Hawkules knows how we can go to Tartarus, but in order to do so, we need a guide. We seek out Orpheus and he starts saying whoa, which Contessa takes offense to, which had me confused, I will say.
We Valencians find the word whoa offensive.
So the reason why the word whoa is offensive to Valencians is because it's a way to tell horses to stop. Clever, but cleverness does not stop cringe. And also, he wasted 5 minutes of my time because I actually looked up if whoa was a slur to Italians. Anyways, Hawkules tells us that he's just down in the dumps because his lady friend is dead and some time will cheer him up. Look at this guy go. He's like, wee, wee.
I'd hoped not. Let's get him!
Oh hey, Ratbeard, Captain Ratbeard, Rat Officer. So this is Ratbeard's voice, and officially we have now heard, so far, every new voice change for the characters. We are missing Gracie's, which will be in Croc when we'll hear it, but I'll talk about my thoughts on them here now. Of course, I like the OGs better, but that's no offense to the new voice actors, as part of it has to do with nostalgia, and it just being so used to hearing these voices for almost a whole journey. I do like Mr. Gandry's new voice, same with Scratch as well. Bonnie Ann and Ratbeard's voice I didn't like at first, but I can at least get used to it. Vadima, I personally think her voice is slurring too much and would have liked it if it was more subtle with the delivery instead of like woo vibes. Gracie has lost her British accent, by the way, and just has a regular American accent. I don't know why they didn't tell them to just try it out with an accent, but hopefully they do it for later updates. And Contessa, yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Do not like it. The accent is just too much now. In the line of End of Croc, I try to skip past it as fast as I can. I just do not like how it sounds. There is one character that also had a voice change that I kind of glossed over due to it just being relevant for one moment in this story, and then we'll probably never see him again. And I thought I fixed it in this editing by actually acknowledging it. And I also think it's an underrated, if not one of the greater voice changes we have in this little group. I actually like Meowyarty's. If it was between the OG and this one, I definitely go for the OG. But it's just with the voice actor's performance on how Meowyarty heard about Sherlock Bones' death and how he loses his mind because of it. I really liked it. Apart from that one moment, he was still doing a good job as well. So hopefully in the future, if they ever do bring Meowyarty back, I would definitely like to hear this voice actor again. KingsIsle or Pirate Team, if you're listening to this, keep that voice actor. Thank you. Okay, where are we again? Oh, okay, yeah. So we gotta get the time so we can stop his woes, and then he tells us because we are still alive, we need the ferryman to Tartarus, Charon, to take us there, and we need to take a horn to summon him from a troll. I had to do this fight twice because I needed to be near the dungeon to trigger the part where I can access it by the sigils, but instead I actually teleported to someone who is already in it. After this troll hits me with the bro moment out of nowhere, knock it off with this dialogue, KingsIsle. But now that we have the horn to call Charon, we just need payment in the form of an oboe. We kindly take it from this dead guy, take the oboe to the statue of Hades, and well, he doesn't like what Hawkules did to his hound, so that plan failed. I don't know why we needed to go talk to Hades. We go back to Orpheus, who tells us that we need a different guide because he'll just woe all over the place. We pick up Virgil or Virgil, something like that, after getting some stuff to write a sick poem for him, and now head to Delphos to summon Charon. At first he says, nuh-uh, I don't want no living guy to hire my boat, but Scratch was like, yeah-huh, I'll hire it, which Charon was like, darn, fine then. So we hop on the boat, we hop on the boat. Dude, come on now. Oh, there we go. We hop on the boat and reach Tartarus. We approach the gate of Hades and then talk to the ghost of Aegilis, aka our first bug of Tartarus. So what should happen is that Aegilis would be here and you would have an epic fight as he wants revenge. Thing is, he's not here. To fix this, you just walk into the room behind Aegilis and walk out. But it seems like we're going to be doing this part with ourselves unless that other player actually did this part already. Don't really have a good explanation to why it's like this, so we fight and oh my god, he has 6,000 health. So into my recording, I started this fight at 1 hour, 38 minutes and 25 seconds and didn't finish this fight until 2 hours, 8 minutes and 36 seconds. A full 40 minutes because I lost fight 1 due to a miss, and then the enemy can do an attack where it will allow them to go invisible. All of them have this, by the way, except for Achilles, and I missed an attack that would have been the final blow, but instead they 2v3'd me in one go. Fight 2 I got my ass kicked, and then fight 3 I had a good start, but then I still had to come down to where it was just me who somehow managed to stay at full health during this, 2 doubloon companions, and the last guy just giving up. I wish I was kidding, but he literally did not attack, a thing that some enemies, not all, still do. It's been like that since the old Scratch Obsidian Key dungeon, by the way, so you know. 40 minutes right there. If this wasn't during December where membership was given to everybody, and also at the same time Miracle Mitch was free, I probably would have been annoyed and probably would not have been doing this right now. I'd also be broke in gold, by the way. I would just be spending all my gold. And I know I really didn't discuss Miracle Mitch, but wow. This guy's a ripoff. To revive a companion at level 70, these are the 3 ranks of how much it would cost to revive him from bed rest. And then this would be the price if all 3 of my level 70 companions were hurt. The gold cap, by the way, is currently at 250,000 gold. So, in summary, again, this guy's a ripoff. After Achilles, we run into the sister Medusa. We don't have any gold apples to do the same stunt we did earlier, so we just had to fake it, which she believes, I guess. We do her test, run into Hades' dog Cerberus, which Hawkules deals with because the dog is actually a good boy. Hades is not too happy with living people have shown up, but gets even more grumpier when he realizes we are the people from earlier with Hawkules, so we gotta deal with his guards. Definitely didn't lose after this turn, by the way, and had to fight him all over again. Totally didn't have to do that. After we won it first try, Hades starts attacking our souls until our good pal Death pops in to save us. We go to his room and what the fuck is up with these lights?
These
I hate this
worlds
room.
are for the living.
I hate
Those
this.
world.
Dude,
Now look where we are.
I do not like looking at this room at all. I do not like looking at it. Just the lights flickering sucks. Anyways, Death isn't too happy about all the living people coming in and out of Tartarus, but he knows the situation we're dealing with right now. Death actually allowed our parents to talk to us, but now he can't find them as well because someone is messing with Death himself. Seems like the person messing with Death is a necromancer using Death magic. Oh boy. He needs us and our mojo from Old Scratch, who's stripped in excitement I guess, to break the totems as they won't detect it as much if Death was doing it. In return, he'll help us find our parents. Guess what? The totems are doing the same thing that happened with Achilles earlier. What to do, what to do. What am I supposed to do? You know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna go see if I can... Are you fucking kidding me? You know what? Thank God. There is no God. In this situation, I had actually switched areas and hey, there's the totem I needed. Beat up some satyrs, have a wacky time entering a dungeon. I just walked through it instead. How about that? And I'll do it again. Maybe a 3rd time. I'm not getting enough of this. My stomach is growling. Okay. We fight the final boss being Electo, who reveals the necromancer created her in that she's mortal and pretty strong. Theseus is down here too, by the way, because him and his friend were trying to steal Persephone from Hades, but that didn't work out too well. We give Death the 6 totems, and after analyzing them, he deduces that the necromancer wizard is in Krokotopia. Before we leave Tartarus, we gotta do the thing we promised Orpheus, place down the time, and now we're back in Vadima's Sanctum, and to set our sights on Krokotopia. So, there are some things that I like, some things that I don't like, and there's some things that I don't really know how to feel about. Things I liked the story as it felt like a fresh breath of air from the Sinbad trilogy. It was also nice to see Death again as he is a fun character to interact with, and even with what I'll say in a bit, the area looks nice and is a nice change of scenery. Things I don't like. Some of the dialogue I'm not much of a fan of, and also the bugs of having to do something to trigger what is actually supposed to happen is not something I like to do either. One thing I found odd is the inability to leave a port in Tartarus. Once I walked into that room with Medusa's sister, I could no longer leave a port in Tartarus. I could before, but now I can't. And because I didn't keep one on Delphus, but had to revive my companions, what I had to do was teleport back to Skull Island to revive my companions because it was free, go to the transporter as well, which thankfully had gold, not crowns to pay, sail back to Delphos, leave a port by the boat, then repeat what I had to do in Tartarus. I don't know about you, but that's not fun gameplay. On top of that, taking 40 minutes for me to win this fight is not fun gameplay either. Achilles has rank 5 epic talents, whereas his allies have 2 rank 3 and rank 2 epic talents, and the attack, Cloak and Dagger, an ability again that can make you bleed and turn the enemy invisible for 4 turns. How is this fun or fair for me to have to take many attacks to defeat one enemy, whereas the enemies can defeat my guys in like 3 hits. While their area does look nice, there are some visual looks that turn me away, like Death's Room and Rapier and Old Scratch looking like the first stage appearance. Gotta mention that here now. Also, this pull right here was insane. I don't know if they increased the radius on when an enemy can pull you, because I don't remember it being this wide of a range. But on my last note, being the one that I don't know how I feel about it, is the reusing of assets. Tartarus is pretty much a copy and paste of Tartarus from Wizard. If it saves money, then in that case, I don't have that much of a problem with it, as they can use that money for the next update and it keeps both worlds connected as well. But not only that, but it's not a new world or Skyray really, as we know of from Monquista through Valencia Part 2. But in this case, it works, because Tartarus was never its own world. It was a part of Aquila, and you just had to teleport there from Aquila. What I'm trying to say is that it makes sense here. In conclusion, there are a few things that I do like here, but they are still emphasizing some things that I really don't like, one of those being that the difficulty spike is getting out of hand. One thing I forgot to mention is that Tartarus was released in April 2024, 6 months after the end of the Sinbad saga, whereas Krokotopia was released 5 months after Tartarus, in September 2024. These are the quickest we've gotten updates to the story since Sinbad dropped, by the way. And this probably isn't too fair to Krokotopia, but if I was to put all of them in one group and say which one's the best and which one's the worst, just not looking at how short they are or how long they are, and just from what I've experienced, Krokotopia is the worst.
There is so many bugs in this update.
The door closed or something?
Chilling, playing the update. I just wish this part was better. This is my first complaint so far. I think it's my first. I hope it's my first.
I know Slade got stuck there. I saw his video on this.
I'm never gonna be able to finish this, dude.
Can they just make one thing right? I don't understand.
Pirate101's camera angles, like when you're in battle, there's certain camera angles.
Nice zoom angle, man. Nice.
Stupid Queen of Battles. She is probably the lamest fight in this game ever. The lamest boss fight ever. She's just a reused asset battle angel who says that she's cooler, better than Queen, and then you kill her in like 2 turns. You don't have much room, so now you have to worry about getting pulled.
I'm sorry that I wasn't able to get all the way through the test realm. I've tried pretty much everything to get this thing to spawn. Some people were able to get it. I don't have the time to sit here and try 80,000 different ways, or wait until 4 a.m. when I can do it.
It's just not fun, I guess. This world faced major criticism during its test run, as there were multiple moments of roadblocks in the progression of the game. The first instance was freeing a Mander from a cage, but the coding was incorrect to only where one person was able to open it. Because of this, no one was able to continue once at least one player opened up that cage, and it would not reset back to the normal for others. The second instance of a roadblock was entering a dungeon to defeat a Guardian Scarab that had a similar situation with the Mander cage, where it would only let one player do the fight and everyone else was screwed. The third and seemingly final roadblock was with the Draconian Swashbuckler doing exactly what the Scarab was bugging out with. All of these roadblocks took several days each for test run players, but it's moments like these where it can really sour the experience for people playing throughout that area during the test run build. And for someone that was just watching it, it didn't really want me to play that area that much. I didn't watch this and be like, oh, I'm so hyped to play Krokotopia anymore. I'm watching this and I'm just like, I'll pass. Not only that, but I didn't want to play it because I didn't want to pay for it. Like I said, the Sinbad saga is free, whereas Tartarus and Krokotopia, you do have to pay to play that part of the game. And because of that, you bet I'm going to be a bit more critical when it comes to Krokotopia compared to Sinbad. But to get my opinion and thoughts of what I thought about Krokotopia, I still needed to play Krokotopia myself. And I will say, it wasn't as bad from what I saw during test run, but it's still not that good. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of Krokotopia after playing it, and I did actually manage to encounter a bug I had during my playthrough of it. So I get sent by Burnham Bay to rescue some Manders. I reach the room and walk right in when someone just finished beating the Armada troops. That's okay. I'll wait for them to respawn, I foolishly told myself, but they never would. The only way they did was to leave Krokotopia, switch realms because I couldn't in Krok, and then boom, I can now do the fight. But the craziest part is, after the fight was over, someone else showed up and they respawned. Why is this just not like a one fight dungeon? They've done it before and we're not coming back to this room, so why not? On top of that, I don't think Zigzag was meant for the pirate world. Why do I say that again? Well, it's because it's an import from Wizard 101. during the zigzag dungeon, whatever the fuck this was. The only difference is that they switched it from nighttime to daytime, and it does not look good. Why is it so bright? And it feels so congested in this area. There are some spots where there are respawning enemies, and if you don't pass them at the right exact moment, you will get pulled. Then you have the camera angles in those congested spots, which, wow, 10 out of 10 gameplay, am I right? Then comes the enemies with the armada attacking. Why? Well, because of the Marleybonians, but when Kane was defeated, they decided to collect the supplies, but Bellatrix, more on her later, said they're disrupting the supply line by doing this, I guess. And now the Draconians are here, and the pyramid creatures and guardians, oh no. We also run into that issue I'm having where the difficulty is becoming way too much, especially with the Draconians having a new epic talent, Follow Through, which seems like to be relentless, but now you can hit other enemies instead of focusing on one, and it's guaranteed to happen. Also, respectfully, sneaky. Hate that ability. Hate fighting against it. I also had some confusion in the beginning, but when did Bonnie Ann and Calico Jake hate each other? I went to go watch back the promotion for Bonnie Ann where Calico Jake showed up, and they seemed like old chums getting back to reuniting with each other, and now they hate each other. Did I miss something? Still not a fan of Contessa's voice, by the way.
Sadly, Baruti's barriers did not stop the Draconians from coming and going and will. What shall we do now?
But now I must get into the inclusion of 2 new enemies in this part of Krokotopia. But let's start with the aforementioned first. In the end of Valencia Part 2, they hinted the Queen will be coming back, and progressing the story, I thought maybe they showed the Queen. She wasn't in the ship, but that's okay. She might be in the tent where Calico Jake's cotton he wanted is. Well, let's go into that tent and who the hell are you? This is Bellatrix, Queen of Battles. Gotcha! You see what they did there? You see what they did? They didn't mean Queen. They meant Queen of Battles, Bellatrix. They got you. You thought it was actually real Queen, you silly goose. Yes, you did. I know you did. She plans to trap us in the tent and kill us with the deadly fumes spreading into the tent. Quick question though. Is anyone guarding the outside of the tent, or at least the perimeters of the tent inside? Because what if I just decide to walk back out, or just walk from a side, you know? Just curious, but after defeating Bellatrix, I'm going to assume that will be the last we see of her, because there is no way we let her escape, and that was just to serve as a tease. She was meant to entertain. Clearly, we aren't talking about the same queen as the one I know who likes to entertain with some ass whooping. I just find this part of the story odd, and just that the team was finding a way to end the Armada and Croc so they can focus on the Draconians and our new main antagonist for the story. Meet Oksana. I'm not really sold on Oksana. At the last fight of the final dungeon and of Croc, we finally run into Oksana, a wizard from Dragonspire, the one responsible for the current situation regarding our parents. We unfortunately can't take her out at the moment, risking the eternal torment for our parents, but tells us her reason for wanting to go to El Dorado, being that there are masters which have powers that can teach her what she needs for ultimate power over the spiral and to dethrone Death himself. And it seems like Croc was the best place to communicate and learn those powers on how to reach them. She goes on to say she was a part of this race too, and she was lurking in the shadows this whole time. Also, the distraction helped Oksana learn all she needs to reach El Dorado too, by the way. That's great to know. So what I learned from this talk with her is that there is a third main player in the race to El Dorado and was responsible for us abandoning our quest. She knows how to reach El Dorado and is going there to seek out the masters in the abandoned city with hostile golden sentinels to achieve unlimited power. And our new main antagonist is a wizard necromancer, and we're just kind of fucked. I'm not gonna lie, this sounds a little bit overkill. We don't know how to get there, let alone have the pieces to the map, and I don't know how I really feel about Oksana being our main antagonist. I really prefer how Kane was seeking out El Dorado to become the perfect being and make it in his own perfect image for the spiral. I feel if you take Oksana and her plot and what she wants to do, and you plopped it into Wizard 101, it will work fine, if not better. It feels like they're trying to force Wizard 101 where it doesn't need to be in the pirate story. Personally, if you were going to do like a wizard antagonist going forward, I honestly would have done Morganth. What if you do this? She's been floating around the spiral equivalent of space, but finally managed to not do that anymore and is now doing her business where the protagonist wizard can't find her, but now has to deal with us. But the most peeved thing about this is that it's in Croc, Tartarus, and Sinbad saga, is that unless you're only here for the story and you really like how the story is going and you want to play more of it, there is no incentive to play this part of the story at all. You do not receive gold or experience as the level cap is still 70. You do not get better equipment, and it seems like Tartarus has better gear than Krok. You do not receive anything other than progression. KingsIsle, I am extraordinarily busy right now. I was just wondering what we will get from completing this. You know, for the players. Maybe some gold or XP, hopefully for a level increase. You don't. Why not? Because it will happen soon. What soon? We've been waiting since 2016 and I've only got Wrong, sir. Wrong. Under section 37B, the game update notes we put out, it states quite clearly all notable additions that were added and you can read it for yourself in all our update notes on our site. I, the paying player, shall be getting content, progression, and mid-companions here and contain, etc., etc. House items, few underwhelming antagonists, etc., etc. And your time as we work to get back to El Dorado. It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You knew what you were gonna get. You finally played Krokotopia, which had to be halted and fixed thrice, so you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. Because of this, there is like a tiny part of me, just the tiniest part, that thinks Tartarus, or at least Krokotopia, shouldn't be a paywall. It should be free. I do not gain any rewards from completing a main quest unless you don't count recruiting Albino and Sinbad. Because of that, I think these areas should probably be free, like the Sinbad trilogy. I know I didn't really go into discussing the story like I did with every other part, but personally that's because these issues I had with Krok and this script being 27 pages long already at this point, Jesus, I thought I'd abstain. But I will say this part at least. After destroying the last portal, we set off the flare for Calico Jake to bring us back to Flotsam. All seems lost as we don't know what to do next, but Bonnie Ann does. And that's the end of Krok and the main story so far. Even with my gripes, even with my criticisms, somehow at the end of the story, they managed in some certain way, just a little bit of a way, to get me interested a bit in the story. So this time, I'm content with waiting. I don't know if this has to deal with the new company that now controls KingsIsle, giving the pirate team stricter and stricter deadlines maybe, but this plan of rushing out the updates is not working for it. To remind you, 6 months after the end of Sinbad, Tartarus came out and had, and still does have, bugs, and isn't quite as polished, but was able to be played through in Test Realm. Krok came out 5 months after Tartarus, but faced more criticism due to the look of Zigzag, the multiple roadblocks in Test Realm, and the questionable new antagonists. And you couldn't play through Test Realm and complete it for the first time through. I know I wanted the updates to come out at least somewhat more frequently or on a consistent basis instead of like waiting 3 to 5 years for it, but after this, I'm content with waiting. I rather have quality updates instead of huge quantities of updates being rushed out. But there is still one more update I want to talk about. Folks, let's talk about the Hawk. This is by far the worst update they added into Pirate. With the best being the Nurse Quinn buff, baby! Ooh, they buffed she Nurse Quinn! She's so strong! Anywho, in November 2024, we got an update to Tartarus, actually, being an Obsidian Key boss dungeon where you have to fight this guy known as General Politicos. Only one guy, by the way, but if you don't hit him, he will spawn more enemies. They will be at lower health, but they do have ways to make it a big problem. This fight is very easy for Buccaneers, as all you do is just do a charge attack, and if he knocks you back with Repelled Warriors 5, then the next companion will hopefully have a charge attack and guarantee a hit on him and make it a cakewalk after that. I will say though, this dungeon is fun, and I do like the concept of this cheat. Now that you defeated him, it's all over, and you think that you can now promote Hawkules, right? Wait, you're telling me you didn't receive the Doom Laurel, which has a very rare chance of dropping? Forgot to mention this, but this links with Hawkules' new promotion. That's okay, let's just try again. Aw, dang it. What's that now? You ran out of Obsidian Keys and need more? Just go to Aquila in the new Valencia dungeon and that Crocogator fight in Marleybone to get some more. Good luck! And then you can just do it all over again. And 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 again! And again! Fuck! This does not feel like fun. Every time playing this for hours, and I feel like I've gotten nothing. Instead, I feel like I've just wasted my time. I know some people have done it in a few fights to get the Doom laurel. Some people have done it in an ungodly amount of times to where just saying the number makes you feel like you've just wasted your life. For me, I have done this fight 42 times and have not received it yet. You do get a badge though, by the way. If you defeat him 50 times, you get a little reward too as well on that badge. What is that reward? 10 companion training points. In my case, I have all my companions at level 70. So this is pointless. I don't care about the gear. I don't care about the companion training points. All I care is getting the promotion for the Hawk. And just seeing the 10 companion training points, it feels like a punch in the dick. Even if you decided to increase the level cap to 75 or 80, this still feels like a punch in the dick. Instead, you just avoided my balls, and now you're just aiming for my shaft. But the biggest kicker out of this is actually when you go and promote Hawkules and you actually get the Doom laurel. So what happens is that you go to a tavern, talk to Hawkules, he said we need to go to the ancient tunnels in Skull Island, you go into this little tomb with this Krokotopian guy, he says, hey, Hades isn't too happy with you right now, and then Hades comes in, but he's like, hey, if you beat this guy up for me and then get the Doom laurel from him, I can then torment him for the rest of my lives and keep him in Tartarus. So can you do that for me? And we're like, oh, we already have that. And he's like, here you go. We cool now? And then Hades is like, oh yeah, we're cool now. And then we go back to the tavern and then boom, we promote him. That's the end of it. That's the end of it. That feels like a kick in the dick. Maybe 2 kicks in the dick. That feels like a bag of nickels. That's what it feels like. It feels like that moment where Peter Griffin's just getting whammed by a bag of nickels. That's what that feels like. And after seeing that, seeing how the promotion goes, I'm just like, yeah, fuck this update. After 42 tries and then seeing that, I gave up. It was not worth it anymore. If someone messages me saying like, hey, I have the obsidian key, do you want to do this dungeon with me real quick? Then yeah, I'll do it. But once I get it on my Buccaneer, I am not going to bother with it at all with any of my other companions. This is just an unhealthy way of stretching out gameplay by having something short be bigger than it is actually. I hope they don't do this with other companions going forward and maybe work around making it better for players like me or players that just don't want to spend copious amounts of hours that will never know the odds of its drop rates. I know that's something that MMOs don't really do by revealing drop rates, but hopefully they can find an in-between soon. But if I were to wrap up my thoughts on Pirate these last 9 years, all I have to say is that it's kind of sad to see. It's very depressing. A game with so much potential left to die in abandonment as eyes were set on something else that quickly died out and never hit that big boom as other successful games did. That then caused probably many workers to be laid off, long stories cut shorter, and feeling rushed as time goes on, as some players are left feeling disappointed. Some players don't even think it's worth spending the crowns or money for future progression into the game. If the team developers from Pirate or people from KingsIsle are watching this, please know I hope what I said in this video does not bring you down, demotivate you, or any kind of word that you can describe that is making you feel negative at this moment. I've played this game close to the beginning, and I'm just someone that is sharing their thoughts on the current state of Pirate since 2016 in hopefully a respectful manner. This is still a game I love playing. Me playing Wizard a bit more and starting to like it will not change how I feel about this game at all. Other than that, I wish the team the best of luck as they keep progressing the story of Pirate. Even with this, I still have some hopes that I want to share for the future of Pirate. First, have the next update just be another quality of life update. Have it be where you stop the progression, go back and fix the bugs and other problems with the progression of R2 so that many players will give it a second chance. Second, balance out the difficulty. Instead of having all the enemies have like a busted amount of epic talents or abilities, what if instead the one you pull has those busted stats and epic talents while the others is a toned down version? For example, 1 or 2 of the Guardian Scarabs have that lineup of epic talents and stats and such, whereas the rest won't have like sneaky and maybe lower their Riposte 5 to rank 3, and they can even keep Toxic Touch. Honestly, please nerf the Achilles Shade fight. That is 40 minutes I will never see again. Third, this is something I thought of as well, but also something that Just Fang mentioned in the video as well for the Hawk Dungeon, where instead of 10 companion training points you get from the badge, instead it's a pity system where we'll raise the specific odds for getting the Doom laurel, and maybe lower the requirement to like 40 or 35 at the lowest. Fourth, please for the love of God, raise the level cap and have incentives and rewards with the main quest. Lastly, take your time with these updates. It seems like pumping out these updates in a 5 or 6 month year span is not the move for this game. It may be for Wizard, but it's not for pirates. And also take your time with the test realm. Hopefully we don't have another situation where it's Croc all over again. I don't know how to develop a game, but hey, maybe during this time, someone will figure out a way of adding skyways or worlds back into the game like they did back in the day. I might be forgetting some other hopes, but that's all I can think of. But let's end it on a positive note at least. Recently, I've had the best time playing this game that I have in a long time. And this doesn't have to do with the updates, any buffs, any minor updates, just anything you think of like that. It actually has to do with the community. I've never really involved myself with the community until the beginning of this script, and I'm really enjoying myself. I feel like I am playing the game in a new experience than I have every other time. Being on a call with other players going through Pirate for this is such a cool thing to finally experience, and it's so much fun. I don't know how else to describe how more chill the Pirate community is, but it's just great interacting with others instead of bumping into other players who just so happen to be at that same part only to never see them again. If I were to go through Arc 2 again, it would definitely be because I want to do with those players I am currently experiencing it with. And the last thing I want to say is that when I first started this game, I actually chose a Buccaneer. And now for this group, I'm actually playing through it again as a Buccaneer. I cannot explain how many times I've done this game as a Buccaneer. It's crazy. It's just one of those moments where I kind of just stop what I'm doing and I'm just looking at it like, huh. Well, would you look at that? What are the odds, you know? Hey, so updates happened. So as I'm like almost done editing this video, they decided to drop an update for the game. Just a little minor fix for some stuff and some minor tweaks. Sick. Why now? But it's some important stuff that I do want to talk about though. It has regards to just like a few fixes, some buffs for some pack companions I'll talk about, and a major update to the Hawkules Dungeon. So we'll get onto that at the end. But as for the video, I'm not going to rearrange this whole video just to fit in with this update. This is just going to be squeezed in at the end. So I'll let you know here and at the description as well. So I'm not trying to do this. I've been working on this video for like over a month now. That's just not even counting like editing and such. Like the script was 32 pages long. The script was 32 pages long. I need to repeat that again. So just to get over some stuff real quick, let's start work from the bottom to the top of what they have put in for February 2025. For the miscellaneous updates, I don't know what the patches are. I haven't used any of the patches. So the patch of St. Rex is none of my, like, doesn't pop on my radar like, ooh. The Beast Temple Guardian Zigzag no longer decides to have a dance party mid-combat. That's sad. I would have kept that in there. I think that would have been really funny. You're just trying to fight the Temple Guardian, but all of a sudden it just starts busting out a fat move, you know? And then some various animation bug fixes. I know there was like a lot with Sinbad where he would go to attack and then nothing happens. Also, I should probably mention that the coming soon, it looks like that coming soon is going to be Mirage. Cool. I wonder how they're going to do it because they're probably not going to do Skyways or full-on worlds, islands, and such. So that's still unfortunate. And it says that a new scaly ally wants to join your cause, maybe. That's cool. I actually saw the companion. Looks cool. Kind of wish that I got to see it for myself instead of getting it spoiled. There was a video that had the companion shown. Great. It was in the thumbnail too. Great. Thanks. Moving on. Sinbad Part 1 through 3 updates. Team Up has been added to Sinbad Part 1 and 2. Awesome. Sinbad Part 2 combat difficulty has been reduced and the drop rate of weapons have been increased. Okay. And then the dungeon recall now functions correctly in Sinbad Part 3. So, I actually talked about this in the part where I discussed Sinbad Part 3, where I didn't want to teleport out of there to get some mojo potions because I didn't think it was going to let me have a recall button to go back there. Though I thought the reason why at that time was because I walked out of the dungeon instead of teleporting out of a dungeon. I guess that was just with those dungeons in Sinbad Part 3, so okay, cool. I'm glad that they fixed that. Grizzly Beast Companion updates. The Grizzly Beast Companions have received significant upgrades that help them stand tall with Bar. These upgrades include enhanced stats, upgrade powers and talents, increased epic talent selection and/or more powers, modifications to their distinct pet summons. As soon as this dropped, I checked on there because I did have the Buccaneer one. It didn't hit by the time I got on there, but it has now like fully implemented for like the new stats, epic talents and such. The Bears did get a new epic talent, so I know for my Buccaneer I just gave it Vengeance again because now it has like Vengeance 2 or Relentless 2, Blaze 2 or some shit. But now that Buccaneer one, the regular one, also has a Super Strike and that one move that can enhance your crit chance. But really nice. I think these were much needed for the bear companions. As for Sinbad Part 1 through 3, awesome. I'm just wondering why it took this long to actually get this worked on. Because remember, Sinbad Part 1 came out in June 2021, and then Part 3 came out in 2023. It doesn't feel like it should have taken that long is what I'm trying to say. I feel like this is something that you just be like, oh, we got to add this in here, done, moving on. But I'm glad it's in here now. But now the moment we've been waiting for. Hawkules promotion updates. Thank you for your feedback on our new promotion system for the legendary hero Hawkules. We've been paying attention to your community sentiment and have some updates to improve the experience. The Doom Laurel's drop rate has been increased. Awesome. The drop rate of obsidian skeleton keys from the boss has been increased. Awesome. There is now a new badge reward that guarantees receipt of the Doom Laurel. Okay, the Doom Laurel item will be available in the crown shop for purchase. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. But let's start with the good and then go back to the bad. So I'm very glad they increased the Doom Laurel drop rate because I know someone's done it like hundreds of times. So me complaining about doing it 42 times probably doesn't stand tall to what they've had to go through to just try and get this item. And it's also nice that the obsidian skeleton keys drop rate for that boss has increased as well, so that you're just not having to basically go on a drought and just have to like look around being like, oh, are you going in? Do you have the key? You know, because I had to do that. A lot of people had to do that actually. And then the new badge reward that guarantees receipt of the Doom Laurel. It doesn't change the one that has 50. It keeps that one that you have to defeat him 50 times for the 10 companion training points. It keeps that one the same. It adds a new badge, which is that if you defeat him 100 times, then you get the Doom Laurel. Part of me doesn't like it, but at the same time, it's just one of those things that you have to grind for that just sucks. I don't play MMOs. I only play Pirate and Wizard. These are the only MMOs I play, so I don't really know the MMO space that well, I guess. But one of my best friends and friend of the channel was telling me is that there's going to be in MMOs that one thing that you have to grind for that just sucks. And so this is going to be the one that you're going to have to grind for that just sucks. How much is the Doom Laurel in the Crown Shop if you haven't seen it yet? It's not in the hundreds. It's in the thousands. It's not 1,000. It's not 2,000. It's not 3,000. It's 4,895. I don't like that. You see, in the shop to buy crowns, it costs about $10 to buy 5,000 crowns. So you're almost paying $10 just for this one item you're going to use, never equipped onto your pirate unless you have like better gear. So pretty much if you don't want to like grind for the gear, you can just give them almost $10 pretty much to buy this item that you're not going to probably use for your pirate, as you probably have better gear than this Doom Laurel. And you're going to be doing this companion quest that barely lasts 5 minutes. Barely. We're stretching by saying that last 5 minutes. Honestly, if I were to not sugarcoat it, I think it's like highway robbery. I think it's shameless. I think it's greedy. It's just money grabbing. It's just, I bought the Doom Laurel from the Crown Shop. Please, it was just for this video. I promise I'm not a hypocrite. I can't take it anymore, okay? Hopefully, they either decrease the price for how much it costs for the Doom Laurel, or they either do it where you can buy it for crowns, or you can buy it for a shit ton of gold. Do like how you're in the houses, you know? But those are my thoughts, you know? Honestly, it's a good update. It's a good update. They finally fixed some stuff about Sinbad Part 1 through 3 that was needed in it, though they didn't decrease the difficulty in Sinbad Part 3, which honestly, I felt was more harder than Part 2. But then again, I will say, I did have someone going with me in Part 2, so I wasn't alone during that. One thing I did forget to mention about Mirage. I did see the weapons and clothing that you can wear for Mirage coming in this update, and it got me kind of worried. The reason why I'm like kind of worried about it is that the gear said only pirates level 70 plus can wear this gear. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I'm thinking that they might have not increased the level cap. But hopefully this is just me like being too like over speculating and such, and that they actually did. Hopefully in Mirage they actually have rewards as well for the main quest, but that's just something we're gonna have to wait and see in probably spring. If you guys actually do want to see me do a video on Mirage talking about it as well, 150 likes maybe, then I'll think about it. Yeah, back to the video. Oh, I gotta mention Plunder Hunt. Pirate101 Plunder Hunt, aka those shitty mobile games you see ads for on YouTube videos or Instagram Reels, but with the code of Pirate101 painted on it. They took Bonnie Ann and my guy Kobe and painted them blue while also changing their names along with Catbeard. Who's Catbeard? I think you meant Witty Whiskers or whatever they had it as. The companions suck. They don't even do shit or contribute enough. Fuck the microtransactions. Fuck the ads in this game shoving it in your face. Fuck Blue Kobe, because that's not the one I know know and love. Best part of the game was the ragdoll effect the enemies do. The app was released in late October 2023 and was shut down at the end of January 2024. What a waste of money and time, guys. I know this wasn't developed by KingsIsle, but still. Can we stop focusing our attention on mobile games now? Cause this ain't working. This ain't it, Chief. We also canceled those ones back in like what, 2021? Those got canceled, so. But also, buff Nanu, baby. We want buff Nanu. I want to make it so buff Nanu in the so much now. Make them more trending. Maybe always on the Pirate 101 Discord server. But finally, that is all I have to say with my Pirate 101 retrospective. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you agreed or disagreed with anything I had to say in this video. Maybe even share your thoughts about what you think about Pirate right now in the comments below. Also, subscribe, as that'll put a smile on my face. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go to the zoo and get a pet monkey. I need to go get a pet monkey, get him a little sailor outfit, and then go get a boat. And definitely didn't steal it. Yeah, definitely didn't steal it. Maybe I did, actually. I go get the boat with the monkey and the sailor suit, and we go out into the river or something like that, and we live our Pirate 101 dreams. But, yeah. Okay, bye.